Hey guys, this is father and son flying, or at least one half of father and son flying. The adolescent half is in Canada right now, so today's video is going to be about basically some apprentice motor problems. Had a good flight yesterday, or a few good flights, but the last one ended in a tree, and I noticed after we had a little light crash there. It wasn't too bad, but I noticed that the motor kind of was making a funny noise, and it only gave me about a half throttle. I've kind of read up a little bit on it, but I'm not quite sure what the problem is. But at least today's video will be us taking it apart and kind of just showing you how to get to it and open it up, and we'll at least be getting the motor taken out so that we can send it off. I don't think it's much that I can look at or do with it, but I asked my neighbors over there on some four-wheelers. They're kind of loud with it, but never mind that. We'll still get into it. I'm going to go ahead and move this plane over. I'm actually start it and show you what the sound that it's making, so you can kind of see it might relate to a problem you're having or something, so we'll let you check it out. I have the battery already installed, and I actually have the transmitter turned on, but I'll bring my stand over here, or at least what I call my temporary flight stand. This little trash can works pretty good for the usage though. I'll try to get out of that light there from the window. Let's see. I'll set the plane down in it right now. That kind of just holds it stable. I'm able to kind of throttle it almost all the way up to full, and it's not really going to stop the noise, but it'll help with the light a little bit. But I'll go ahead and turn it on. And as you can see, it sounds like the ESC and everything works correctly. Got full servo function on it, so that doesn't seem a problem. The only problem I seem to have is with the throttle though, and it kind of see, it kind of goes and then chokes up a little bit. If I leave it too long, it'll stall itself, and I actually saw just a little bit of smoke yesterday, and I didn't like that, so I kind of just shut it down for the day. But okay, see, that's actually sounding a little better than it did yesterday, because it's not stopping. It's only coming to a stop when I throttle it all the way down. But now that's more or less what it was doing yesterday, and it kind of makes those screeching noises. But we're gonna go ahead and turn it off. One thing I will do when I turn it off here, I'll go ahead and disconnect the battery. I'm actually using my voltmeter here to check the battery, because I had some motor problems, or what I thought was motor problems, about a week or so ago. Come to find out it was just the battery not giving enough voltage. I think it takes a minimum of 9.2 volts, and the ESC just wouldn't even cut on any motor function. So I thought I had a motor problem, and I couldn't figure it out because I had, full servo function, but it was still pretty easy to solve when I put the multimeter on it. I'm going to start by, I'll kind of pick up the camera and show you a little bit. I don't have the rubber bands on the wings either. I knew I would be taking it apart, so I just kind of left them off. But I'll pick up the camera and kind of give it a little shot. Take the wings back. All you really have to do is just disconnect the two servo connectors right here. You have your ESC right here, which you can see it's kind of loose already. I've kind of taken it loose once or twice to have to move it around. And it's not very complex under here. You can see all your functions there. I'll go ahead and set the camera back down so I can kind of take it apart there and take the wings off. And all I'm going to basically do is just remove the motor from it today. All you have to do is just undo the cowl and take off the prop first, and it'll come right out. You'll see it on the motor mount, but that'll be just a second though. And these two just unclip like that. Not very much to it. And for now, I'll just set the wing over here on the side. I'll move the transmitter out the way too. I'm not going to need that anymore right now. But I'll turn it over for a second too as well, just to go ahead and take the battery out. I said I'd check the voltage on it, so we'll see what it's at. I'm pretty sure it was good. I think it was at about 11.5 yesterday, but we'll show just for the reference of it there. Because sometimes you just want to eliminate the easiest problems that it could be first off before you disconnect your motor or send it off or anything like that to be repaired or something, or just replaced, which that can be costly too. Always want to check just the small stuff first. So I'll go ahead and set that back up here and turn off multimeter. And this isn't anything fancy. This is just I think I might have paid 15 or 20 bucks for this one at the I believe I got this at Walmart or something. But and it does everything you need it to do. It'll test your test the AA batteries that I put in my receivers as well. I mean into my transmitter. It's always good to check all your battery function though at the beginning of any flights. I mean, I don't have to explain the consequence to not knowing or testing the range of a battery or so. So it's always good to just make sure you know what you got going on. And it looks like I'm getting 11.25, so it's over the 11.1. So I know there's voltage sufficient for the motor, and it's still not working correctly. So I think it's sounds more like a bearing issue, but I think with this little stock motor that comes on the Apprentice, I don't believe it's one that you can actually work on yourself. I looked at it once before. I need to see how you can get the housing or anything off, so I likely won't be doing any of that to it, but I'll put the battery over here on the side too. I never really leave the battery connected inside of any of my planes there. It's just not sure if it's a good or a bad thing, but I've always read not to do it, so I kind of just stick with it. Everybody I always see always connects their battery before flight, so I know they're not just riding around with it connected. But we'll go ahead and set this out the way again too. And the tools aren't very much you need for this one. It's I'm just going to use I got two basic little screwdrivers. I got a Phillips and a little eyeglass screwdriver here. Has a flathead tip on it, and a little Phillips. And I actually have a little pair of vice grips that I'll use. There's just one little nut that kind of holds it on there, holds the prop on. And first you just have to start by taking this cap off. It just kind of pops off a little bit. I squeeze it a little until I see a little crease in it, and it comes right off. But amazingly, it stays on pretty good for flying time, so I've never had it come off. Even on a rough landing or something, it stays on pretty good. And you just have to give that nut just a good little turn, and it'll loosen right up. And I could try the motor function again with the prop off to kind of see if there's a difference, but I actually did already, and I know there isn't one, so I can kind of skip that step for you because I've already confirmed that motor still sounds pretty off. But once you get that nut off, it has a little housing over the prop here, and that kind of comes right off there, and you just take the prop right off. Comes right off, and it's probably pretty good. I always keep a few extra ones. It'd take a good beating though. I already knocked a couple of edges off of it though, but still flies perfect though, so no problems. Next step is just taking the cowl off the front. It has the two decals that come down the sides there. I've actually already just took a razor one time and just made a nice little slit in it to come on and off a little easier. But on the other side, I actually left it whole. So on this side, I'll just peel it back, kind of just stick it to itself somewhere. It just comes right back when I need it. I'll put it back on. First set of screws you have are the cowl screws. There's one on the top centered, and then there's two on the sides down here. You want to be a little careful with these sometimes. I use the little eyeglass screwdriver for it. These little screws, I tell you, I mean, they'll strip faster than a $5 hooker for you, so you got to be careful with them though. And they come right out though, it's just screwed right in. And let's see, got two of them out. And they're pretty tiny, so you want to make sure you keep up with them. Got them over there. I'll just set them down. And on this other side, let's see. And once you do that, the cowl just slides right off. And you'll see the motor here. And it's actually mounted onto this motor mount, the plastic part. It's a little yellowish in color on the camera versus this clear. It's screwed right in with just those 4 screws. I've had to replace this once already. I kind of cracked the motor mount, and looks like in about 2 spots I did one time. I think it was a pretty tough landing. This plane is pretty good too as far as tough landings. I've pretty much brought it down as hard as you'd want to, and it's always been able to just kind of put back together some tape, some skewers, and a little hot glue, and no problem with it. But also when you take off the cowl, you'll notice too under here is that that screw for the front landing gear. And I noticed a problem I read a lot about too was a lot of people have a problem with the landing gear not staying perfectly aligned with the craft. Well, I noticed that the problem that is that little screw right there comes a little loose sometimes, especially if you take some hard landings in the grass or something, and it'll kind of cause that wheel to start to turn. And you know, it's actually controlled by the rudder servo, so as the rudder turns, the wheel turns, kind of controls the takeoffs or the landings. You can keep it straight. But yeah, if that screw is a little loose there, it'll get kind of crooked on you, and it'll make it want to turn as it takes off. And so I always, every time I have to take the cowl off, which, you know, I try not to if I don't need anything, but I'll always tighten that screw up just a little bit and kind of set that wheel straight. And that helps a lot though. But back to the motor mount, you see it's just 4 screws. There's 1 here, there, and 2 on the top, same way. Once you disconnect that, you'll see that there's just the motor wires under here, a red, a black, and a blue, which have its connections going right to the ESC on the inside. And I'll go ahead and just take these screws loose now, because once you do that, that's pretty much all you have to do. And I'm a little careful with these screws too. If you have to buy a new motor mount, they'll send you the replacement screws for these, and the ones that connect the motor, and it comes with a couple of gaskets too. I believe I ordered mine through Horizon Hobby, and it was just maybe a couple of bucks or so, so it wasn't bad at all. And I mean, it does a pretty big function, so I mean, $2 or $3 to replace something like that, you know, that's pretty cheap, and it'll keep you in the air. And I actually hate to be down today. It's a perfect day outside for flying. I've been pushing it in the wind the past few days, but today is actually a day where, I mean, it's almost not any wind out there, and it'd be perfect for flying. The skies are clear, and usually if you see some of my other videos, that's, you know, it's pretty much what I like to do. I'll take the camera and just stick it over here on the side of the plane, and I like to take some good footage, but I've been trying to switch up locations and go different places just to kind of get a little different footage. Over here by the house, it's just a lot of woods and trees and stuff, so it gets a little boring flying around over it. But and let's see, I got this last screw here. And it screws in pretty hard to that to the plastic behind it. So I take slow turns on the screwdriver, just because it'll rub right through the head on it if you try to make any too quick of turns. And I definitely wouldn't use any kind of power drills or anything, because it's not, I mean, it's really not necessary. But, and once you undo that, motor mount will come right down, and if you pull it forward enough with the ESC up here, I can hear it moving a little. You'll see it'll give you enough slack to kind of pull those connectors right through. And if you can see them, that's where they're connected at. And I'll just go ahead and undo that. 1, 2, and there's your motor. It's disconnected. These 4 screws on the inside will disconnect the mount from the motor, but I'll do a basic little looking at it and see if there's anything I can tell. But as far as I see, it looks like I see a little black inside on one of the coils, a few of the coils there. So I think the motor may be just a little burnt or something. I'd hate to have to replace it, but I think the E-Flite Power 15 is a good upgrade to this one. Just be sure if you do, which I probably will upgrade to it too, make sure you change your ESC with it, because it'll definitely pull a bigger draw on the ESC than with the regular stock one will take. So I'll go ahead and just disconnect this later. But I just wanted to give you guys a little chance to see how that comes off of there in case you're having any problems. And I mean, hey, if any of you guys have any solutions to what this might be, feel free to, you know, leave a comment or something, because it could definitely help me right now, but it might help somebody else too. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope you helped.